Hey, friends. It's August 28th, and I stumbled on this short interview with Dr. David Suzuki that's only got 1,000 views, but I think it should have 400,000. Just in case you aren't aware, though I'm certain everyone here is, Dr. David Suzuki is a science broadcaster, environmental academic activist in Canada. He earned his PhD in zoology from the University of Chicago in 1961 and is a professor of genetics department at the University of British Columbia from 1963 until his retirement in 2001. So no small fish here. Basically, he's legendary. Really incredible. But of course, I want to preface a few things before I play this clip. I hope and I'm certain that I'm able to embody the ethos of what he's outlining in here in his monologue in my videos. I'm certain that comes across, that I represent the oceans and the rivers and the earth and natural systems. Two, he actually gives a shout out to Guy McPherson about 2028 being our date of expiration, which was kind of surprising. And three, from a personal observation, there's still a lot of people in denial and love to play the blame game. But overall, I would say it's about like 60-40 or 80-20, depending on where you are, from with the ages of people from 17 to 27. So younger population, there's still a divide who gets what's happening, and mostly I chalk that up to like how they were raised, the state of mind that they're in. There's a lot of variables, but if you're looking at this objectively, the facts are clear. But there's a select few that like to blame me or be in denial, and some things I've gotten in response to informing them when they ask, or they're like, tell me something I don't know, or something like of that nature. They say, well, the blame game. What are you doing to stop global warming? Whatever, I won't even go down that road. But to which my reply is a lot, both good and bad at this point. But at this point, again, it's out of my hands. Number two, you're a doom and gloom guy. You're such a pessimist. No, I'm recommending people live their best life now. I'm a realist. I've objectively looked at the numbers, and so they love to label me. So we got blame, labeling, blame game, labeling, and then, or my favorite, which is the total denial. All these are somewhat denial. We're all going to die anyway, so I'll worry about it when I worry about like the future. I won't worry about it now. Like, I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. To which my reply is, well, just go hang yourself now then and do us all the honors. We'd be so much more grateful without you. These responses, the neurotic, far left responses, are mainly from women, though with men it's more directly, like butting heads. They shake their heads in disbelief or hold their tongue and say, well, no, especially if they're military types or parents in the oil and gas industry, however they were raised. Okay, so this is the state of affairs where we're at. This is the human condition. We thought we were too clever, but we're not clever enough, clearly. Okay, enjoy.
They say if in the future geologists or paleontologists start looking at the fossil or at the layer record to see the Anthropocene, the period that we're in now, the primary things they would find in that very thin layer of our time would be plastic, radioactive isotopes, cement, and chicken bones, the legacy of our civilization. Well, it's been a long time. I finally understood now, only very recently, what the underlying root cause of our destructiveness is. And it's very, very clear now that, for 95% of human existence, we were nomadic hunter-gatherers. That's the way our species lived. We followed animals and plants through the seasons on their migration routes, and we carried everything we owned on our backs. When you live in that state, you know very well that you live in a very complex web of relationships with other animal species, with plants, with the air, the water, the soil, and the sunlight. That's been the human understanding for 95% of our existence. 10,000 years ago, the last 5% of our time, we discovered agriculture. And of course, agriculture changed everything. It let us settle down in place we could have a relatively dependable source of food, and you get the building of houses and eventually villages and towns, and that was the change. But even then, for most of our existence, farming was the dominant factor in the way we live. When you're a farmer, you know damn well that weather, climate, the seasons mean everything to you, right? That pollination by insects is vital to you, that certain plant species will take nitrogen from the air and fix it as fertilizer. Farmers understand very well that we live in that web of relationships. But we began to spin out of that, I believe, starting with big religions, especially Judeo-Christian religions, that began to see humans as something very special, that we basically are created in the image of God, and that we look at the rest of creation for us. And you get the Renaissance with people like Francis Bacon and Isaac Newton. They begin to think the brain is everything. The brain is what defines us. The brain is the key to our survival and our well-being. And with the Industrial Revolution, this really begins that shift when we think we're no longer bound by natural laws. I mean, we can build a vehicle that will travel faster than the speed of sound. With telescopes and microscopes and big machines, we can now do what no other animal ever did. I mean, we can escape gravity, for God's sakes. We can live in outer space or under the ocean. So this completes then the notion that we are so special. The only limitation to human progress is our imagination. We are so clever, we can just imagine and control the planet. And so that's a shift then from what we call an ecocentric way of living to an anthropocentric way, where we're at the top of the heap. And all of our structures to govern and regulate how we behave, our religions, our laws, our judicial systems, our economies, our politics are all designed around us as a dominant creature. Now, Partha Dasgupta recently published a big tome in England, 600-page tome. He's an economist, showing the problem with the economic system is nature is left out. Nature is considered an externality. It's only there to be used for resources, and it's only there to be used to dump our wastes into. But basically what nature does, like adding oxygen to the air and taking carbon out of it, and all of the things nature does to keep the planet habitable, is irrelevant to the economic system. So the economy itself is a driving force of our destructiveness. And it's the same with our legal system. We're now beginning, New Zealand has given rights to a river. And in Quebec, Canada, recently a river was given the right of human rights. But, who the hell do we think we are to define the rights of the rest of creation? What about the right of a forest to exist as a community of organisms, or the right of a river to flow as it always held? What an arrogant animal we have become. And, our economic system is totally destructive. And so, we argue over whether there should be a carbon tax, or, whether we should let market values determine. What a lot of bullshit. The economy, markets, those are not forces of nature. They're human constructs. Why do we bow down before the economy? If anything's got to change, nature can't change. It's our economy that's got to be changed to come back into balance. And of course, our politics is so screwed up. I mean, children don't vote, future generations don't vote, rivers, oceans, air, they don't vote. And yet we're making decisions that affect all of these things in a profound way. So there's my little rant. I think our problem is we've gone way too big for our britches. We think that we rule the planet, we've taken it over, and we think we're going to be able to manage our way out of the problems. The only thing we can manage is humans. And we have a hell of a time managing that. If you look at human behavior in terms of the COVID crisis, you think, oh my God, how the hell are we going to manage humans to fit and live within nature's boundaries and nature's laws when we can't even manage ourselves. So we were a great experiment, an amazing creature. And the only reason I am sad about what we're at now is I have grandchildren. And, they are the joy of my life. And it grieves me what a mess we're leaving for them.
Can we fix it?
I think it's too late. A lot of, in fact, if you look up a guy named Guy McPherson, he's an ecologist, retired ecologist in the States. He says we're going to be extinct by 2030. And recently, he apparently revised it to 2028. I was shocked when I first heard him. I couldn't move for a week. I was just so stunned by this. But there are many, many. The only way I recovered is I said, well, we don't know enough to say it's too late. I mean, the warning is it's very, very late. I think humanity may survive in pockets, but it's a very, very grim world that we're heading into. And it's going to be within the lifetimes of our children. It's very, very late. So, we got the, I mean, look at Australia, for Christ's sake. I mean, there's a country, my God, you've got the richest resource of energy of any country on the planet. It's called sunlight. And yet you're still stuck on coal and oil. I mean, what the hell is going on? And it's only because of economics. You've got this huge, the first time I went to Australia was 1988. And I was saying, my God, you ought to be leading the world. Your economy ought to be booming. You should be the leaders in solar energy. But no, you stuck it with Gina Reinhardt and coal. That's where you guys are at. So it's pretty grim.